Coming at you from the 37th parallel on America's Haunted Highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Welcome to Pixelated Paranormal. We are back for another episode. This has been another 2 weeks, and I've got some news for everybody here. I don't know about the next show because I will not be here, so it will be up to Preston and Sean to do a show without me. So I'm just popping this on them. They don't realize this till just right at this moment. I will be at Louis C.K. in 2 weeks on Thursday night when I record this, so just keep in mind, next episode Sean will be the host probably.
Woohoo!
And we will see how that goes without me. So yeah, they're just finding out about it right now.
You know what that means? It's going to be ladies' night.
But that's still 2 weeks away. So let's get right into a couple things here. I found this story last night, and apparently on June 20th, the CERN, the Hadron Collider in Switzerland, there were some pictures taken of some clouds over the CERN facility itself. And I should have brought that up so you guys could see these pictures, because I got this from Mysterious Universe's website, but apparently these are real pictures. Some guy tried to verify it in this video I watched. I don't know if that's true, but he's saying he's basically it looks to be real pictures. They don't think it's photoshopped. So if you guys look in chat, you can take a look at that picture and look how freaking scary that is.
Huh.
And But apparently these pictures were taken on June 24th of this year. And the guy that I was watching the video, he went through this thing, and he says that you can go to the CERN's website, and they have a list of all the experiments that they're taking place, just like the code names or whatever. And June 24th was the first night of an experiment called Awake. And these were the pictures that were taken. And that picture there is just kind of really freaking me out. So, I don't know if did you guys take a look at it?
Yeah, I saw the picture a couple days ago, and it's pretty odd.
Yeah, so I'm not saying there's anything untoward, but, everybody thought that the world was going to end when CERN came active anyway. And I've kind of kept my eye on CERN every time they talk about something unique about it and stuff, and I was always just kind of fascinated. But it could be just a freak lightning storm, but that's just really a strange picture. I mean, granted, they're saying it's right over CERN, but if you look, that's a large city. I mean, it's not like it's just right over one area. So,
right. That, my friend, is the cloud of Gozar the Destructor.
That's exactly what I thought. Somebody at CERN has chosen their warrior. Whose demise they want to face, and apparently it's a lightning cloud. So that's just a weird picture. Kind of unsettles me a little bit. The guy I was talking about, you can see a face in it. To me, it looks like a happy face kind of thing. There's the mouth and two giant eyes, and it's like,
so it's not Gozer, it's going to be Stay Puft.
Hug me, hug me. So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting pictures, and that'll be on the story site as well, so you can take a look at these pictures. And then we go to Iowa, of all places. Now, I've been through Iowa. We took a little trip through Iowa when we went to the Mall of America a few years ago.
Hey-o.
And apparently there is a city. It's happening south of Iowa City, around Musconty, Iowa. And this came to Lon from Phantoms and Monsters, and he What? Why are you doing
Oh,
that?
I was just cheersing Preston.
Oh, okay. A man named George said he was driving home and he experienced something really creepy. He was driving down the road, and he said off the side of the road there was a man dressed all in black. And after the car passed by, the man stepped out onto the road. And he said, well, that was kind of weird, but he didn't think anything about it. Then he said about a mile up the road, same thing happened again. He seen another man in black on the side of the road. As he passed the car, the man stepped out on the road and just watched him drive away. By this time, he was really unnerved. So he came home, he talked to his wife, and he said, his wife could tell that the man was pretty distraught. And they called the sheriff, and the sheriff drove out, and they couldn't find anybody. So that just seems kind of odd. And then we have another story that I guess about another man in black in the exact same road. This one sounds a little more cryptid. They said they had a friend in Iowa, and she had been driving between Iowa City and Salon some years back at night and had seen something standing along the road on the shoulder. Whatever she had seen had been big and had wings and was scaring her as she had driven past very fast. Except about 3 or 4 miles down the road, she looked up and saw the exact same creature standing again on the side of the road, also with wings, looking exactly like the first. So that's a little weird that you've got two stories, maybe a couple years apart, I guess, because was like 3 or 4 years ago, and this one was just this year. But this thing had wings. And what I immediately started thinking about was the movie Jeepers Creepers.
Right.
Because that was a good horror movie. I really liked that movie. It was campy and it had a monster in it, and I just thought that was an interesting movie. But it sounds a lot like Jeepers Creepers. Maybe that's what they ran into.
They're actually making the third of that series here pretty quick.
Okay, the second, it doesn't matter. The second one was terrible, and they made a bunch of direct-to-video ones after that.
No, they didn't. There's only been 2 Jeepers Creepers.
I'm pretty sure there was a Jeepers Creepers 3 already, and it was straight to video.
Nope, you're wrong.
So Sean, you had some news, I guess, that came up here just in the last couple of days.
Yeah, going on with my theme of finding paranormal news in Europe. Apparently, a guy in the Ukraine is claiming that he finally killed but he finally killed a chupacabra. It says he was a Ukrainian farmer who noticed that this thing had been stalking his town and his farm for a couple days. And so one night when it crept into his barn looking for some animals to kill, he took his pitchfork and he stalked the creature and killed it. And so apparently he took it to some vets or some local biologists, and they can't tell what it is. And it's your typical hairless dog with elongated snout, really sharp teeth, and all that good stuff. But to me, is anybody else turned off by these chupacabras that are just kind of like hairless chihuahuas?
Yes.
Yes.
Growing up, we always heard of chupacabra, and we're thinking it was a werewolf type creature, a bipedal monster that sucked goats, broke their necks, and drank them dry. And no, it's just a bunch of, malnourished puppies running around killing goats, which is...
With mange.
And it's not nearly as sexy as this, modern-day werewolf.
Right on.
But yeah, what they're saying is kind of strange is if it's really a chupacabra, typically you don't see chupacabras in Europe. Typically they're reported in the U.S. and Mexico and sometimes some down in Central America. So they're saying it's kind of strange that, we're actually seeing one outside of North America.
Strange.
So what do they call the chupacabras in Europe?
Chupacabras.
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra with cheese? I told you this could be a terrible show. Told you.
Just the news. Just the news.
So I guess moving on, Preston had some interesting more robots taking our gerbs.
Today I came across this really cool ghost story, and I was kind of scrolling down to see if there's any more to the ghost story, and I came across sex robot on tracks nicknamed Fuckzilla, which looks like Short Circuit's Johnny Five, is revolutionizing the porn industry. So basically we have Johnny Five looking robot with one arm that's kind of chainsaw-y and with a series of rubber tongues, and then like another arm that looks like a giant dildo, which both are interchangeable. Oh, this is going to be classic. Okay, so in a report commissioned by Bondara, Dr. Pearson claims women could be swapping out human partners for robots in less than 10 years as a trend for sex with cyborgs continues to increase. Now, earlier this summer, there was reports of I can't remember the porn star's name, but she basically had developed these fleshlights that have sensors, and then was having like these giant online orgy parties where the dildo that she inserted into herself sends signals to the fleshlight so that you could literally, have sex with a porn star.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of falls along that trend that we're just slowly getting away with the human connection and giving way to technology.
Well, that kind of brings me to the point. I was listening to the Mysterious Universe from yesterday or earlier this week about the fact that in the future they're saying that we're not going to have sex for procreation anymore. We're going to be having designer babies. Well, the rich people will be having designer babies.
Right.
Everybody else will have to do it the old-fashioned way, and the only way we'll have sex is mostly just for fun, because they're getting it now to where they can go through the DNA and they can figure out of what eggs that are fertilized, which ones have the bigger chance of carrying diseases and such. And I thought that was kind of a fascinating thing. But again, I totally am for that, but at the same time, it just really sucks that poor people or the middle class will never be able to afford something like that. And so, again, we're going to fall further and further behind if you can't, at what point we see how corporations are now where they don't want to pay insurance and insurance companies like that. So what's going to happen when they say, well, you're making a kid on your own instead of having designer kids? So, why should we pay for that when you could have had a designer baby that would have been less chance of getting sick? Right. You can see all kinds of situations like that could be totally scary.
And that, if you go back to that part of, remember Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes?
Sandra Bullock?
With Sandra Bullock, and they basically, they couldn't reproduce the old-fashioned way because of all the diseases, and so basically you would go in, kind of like how Mysterious Universe was talking about, and everybody was required to have a designer baby, and then if you wanted sex, you had like these weird, virtual headsets that you put on and you transmitted thought back and forth. And the people that were doing it the old-fashioned way were the slum rats living in the sewers.
Yeah, they were policing actual sex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you mean you didn't know how to use the 3 seashells?
Well, I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily going to be a case of the middle class and poverty-stricken people can't use the technology. I think it's going to be a case of, middle class people would have enough money to maybe do 1 or 2 rounds of designer babies, whereas the people who have a lot of money can just roll in and say, yeah, let me get 300 designer baby profiles, and then we'll pick the top one.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, they said it would definitely get cheaper, but it's still, I mean, you got to think about artificial insemination and all those costs. I don't know if that's coming down in price as well. I mean, I'm sure it's, yeah, it's just, in 20 years, who knows how cheap any of this stuff will be.
It's going down slowly.
In 20 years, I'll be dead. So
in 10 years, you're going to be off the sex market because Fuckzilla is going to take over the job for you, buddy.
All right. Well, I did come across a story I thought was pretty interesting, and this comes to us from Calgary, and actually comes from the Calgary Herald in Canada. So there is a trial that's going on in Canada called the Strasser Heard trial. One of the jurors had gotten dismissed back in May. She says, I was presented with information this evening of May 4th, 2016, which I feel directly impacts my ability to act as a jury member on this case with an unbiased opinion, the juror said in her note to Pullman. I have a gift of being an intuitive and medium, and although I did not believe this gift would impact my ability to provide judgment on the case based solely on the facts presented before me in court, I was wrong. I can describe, she says, the unnamed woman then told Pullman she could explain to him what a medium was if he wished. And she goes to explain what a medium was. And she says, last night the deceased presented himself to me and made me feel that he wanted what he went through as he was being killed, the intensity of his injuries and the location of his wounds. He also showed me information relating to those who beat, stabbed, and kicked him. I cannot get these horrible images out of my mind. I feel what he felt. I hear what he heard. He kept repeating the phrase, I'm sorry, I am so sorry, please tell my family I am sorry. The woman then explained she wasn't asking Pullman to believe in the paranormal. Sir, I'm not asking you to believe in what I experienced last night, but I ask that you believe in how this has affected me on a personal, mental, and physical level. It was and never has been my intention to retract my ability to fulfill the juror's role or come into court with the biased. But at this point, I feel I can no longer act as a member of this jury fairly and without bias towards the accused. And they let her go. So, what do you guys think about that? Do you think they let her go because they believed her story? Do you think they let her go because they thought maybe she was a little loony? Cause I mean, I've heard some stories to try to get out of court. A lot of judges be like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. I mean, you got to have a real legitimate reason, but I don't know. What do you think?
Here's what I think. I think that the robots are taking our jobs and the ghosts are taking our damn jurors.
Maybe the judge is more like, the judge is probably like, that's one I haven't heard. Maybe she gets out of this one this time.
Yeah. I think what we found out here is the best way to get out of jury duty is just make up a ghost story.
But, there's lots of mediums, and I've never heard of this before. Do you think other mediums have had, like, the actual ghost of a victim come to them and tell them? But that just seems odd because, I've heard lots of medium stories, new people that are mediums, and I've never heard anything like this, like the juror being dismissed from a case like this. I didn't have time to look and see if there's any precedents to see if this has ever been used before. But it's kind of interesting. So
I bet you it's not the first time it's happened. It might be the first time that it hit the mainstream because it seems more and more like paranormal and bizarre news is the big deal right now. I bet you it's happened more than you'd think.
Alrighty. And we're going to roll right into some ghost stuff here. So who was going to go tell their stories first? Well, we're really moving right along. This is going to be a very short show.
Well, I've got one more news story, and we'll make this quick. Let me knock out this news story because I got a lot to talk about when it comes to Europe. There was also reported that scientists in Russia have discovered dozens of bizarre frogs which have become see-through or transparent due to a mutation caused by the pollution of the water habitat they were living in. They came across somewhere, I think, around like 30 or 40 different frogs. And they said that the frogs, some of them had skin that was so transparent, you could see their bones, their organs, and also their actual hearts beating. And they said another strange mutation is not only was the pigment completely missing in their skin, but their eyes were jet black. And so it gives them a little bit more of a, strange alien type look. They said some of the other frogs that they had found had multiple limbs. I think some of them had 2 extra legs, 4 extra legs. And they said the problem is the water has been contaminated. And it said the actual color of the water was like a bright orange due to all the chemical spills. So they're going to start doing a test to find out if it's just a small batch of frogs that, were all mutated or if it's actually caused by the chemical dumping or whatever the pollution was.
It's got what plants crave.
Let's go. You're a monster.
Yeah, it probably sounds like your typical...
it's a classic case of see-through frog.
Pollution, but at the same time...
Classic.
But at the same time, that's... it's kind of freaky because, that had to have happened pretty quick. I mean, it wasn't like it just happened overnight, but it does seem like it had like a long mutation line if they're just finding it now. It seems like it came up pretty quick. And, they had extra limbs and stuff. That just seems, maybe they found mutagen. Teenage Mutant Ninja Frogs.
Napoleon Bonafrog. Genghis Frog. I can go on. I know my turtles. But what I was thinking about, too, is the fact that, let's say that they came across, what if this was a new species? It's probably definitely a chemical contamination and a mutation. But what if they come across a new species of frog that was just recently discovered? Because, you've got people in, I think it was China, making glow-in-the-dark cats. What are the odds of them taking these frogs and extracting DNA and then making this a new designer amphibian that you could buy at a local pet store, sans the radiation?
Well, I mean, it's also, there are fish out there that are see-through, like the little fish, like the really cheap neons and stuff. They were always see-through, and they always had that neon cool look to them or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not unusual. It's not unusual for nature to make things like this, but, except
well, there's also recently they discovered some fish that were not contaminated, but they were found towards the lower parts of the ocean we haven't explored yet, and the fish are crystal clear as well. Even some of their organs, most of their organs are clear too. So it's a defense mechanism they've evolved into. You've got a lot of fishes, kind of like your I just had it, the fish that has the lantern on its head.
Lamprey.
No, that's not it. But anyway, these fish will be swimming, and if they see one of the predators, they can sit still. And if they sit still and quit moving, their bodies will be crystal clear, and the predator fish will look right through it. Anglefish.
Oh.
Anglers, yeah. So yeah, if they sit still, you can practically see right through them. You can barely see the silhouette, but I mean, being that dark, the predatory fish can't actually see.
Interesting. All right. So, what else we got?
Here at Pixelated Paranormal, we're experiencing technical difficulties, and for that, we apologize. Had this podcast been going the right way, right now we'd be listening to the tale of Thoreau's Bridge, and how the legend came to be. So let's get you up to speed. Thoreau's Bridge is a tale of a young lady who was attacked on a river by Native Americans and was killed. Her baby was drowned, and so the soul of Thoreau is forever searching for the baby. Other tales start off with the fact that Thoreau was a harlot. She cheated on her husband, and out of rage, her husband drowned the baby and left Thoreau, and Thoreau forever searches for the baby, calling out. Now, regardless of what you believe, the tale of Thoreau's Bridge is interesting, and the bridge itself holds fascination for many. So let's get back to this podcast and see how the tale ends.
23:8:25.
Oh my God, we have the same legend here in Henderson about a woman that threw her baby into a lake, and if you shine your car headlights at the lake at night at a certain time, the next thing you know, the baby will come dragging itself out of the water to come jump on your hood of your car. No, it doesn't eat your car, it just jumps in the hood.
You idiot.
Second, I hit the camera cord a couple of times, and then mysteriously the camera recorder turned back on and recorded again, and we had no other malfunctions for the rest of the night. Now, we made our way down the embankment so that we could actually get on the creek to see if we could pick anything up. But with running water, the noise level was too high, and it was hard to pick anything up. So as Jason continued further down, I decided to make my way back up the embankment so that once I got to the top, I could film him from over top of the bridge and see if we could pick up anything that way. Now, as I was making my way back up, all of a sudden it was like somebody pushed me very hard into the ground. And when I slammed into the ground, mud caked everywhere, all up in the camera lens, all over my face, in my ears, everything. And as you hear me scream fuck really loud, there was a slight cackle, like a ah, 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 ah. Now, the rest of the evening was uneventful. We picked up some orbs on some photos, but other than that, no other EVPs than what we were going to share with you later on in the show. A couple months later, we decided to go back, and this time my ex-brother-in-law was in town, and he joined us in on the investigation. along with his daughter and one of her friends. We showed them the deer trail that we'd found, and when we got to the end of it, we discovered a headless doll. But that really wasn't the weird part of the evening. As we were standing down there and doing the investigation, one of the girls felt like she got touched, but upon reviewing the recording, all we heard was a small gurgle, almost like a dead zombie, like, ah, and that was about it. The rest of the night was really uneventful. However, when we were making our way back up the embankment this time, as Jason was moving his leg over the guardrail, it was as if something had slammed him down, and you hear Jason racking himself and saying, "Oh, my nuts." Now, some people might say, well, that's just coincidence, and that was just an accident. But when we review the recording again, this time, that same cackle, that was present, just as when Jason racked himself as when I was pushed down and slammed to the ground. Coincidence or part of the paranormal? We went back one more time with just me and Jason shortly after that. And again, nothing out of the ordinary really happened. Actually, that was a really dull night, and the only thing that happened was a drunk guy kept driving up and down the bridge, telling us stories about Thoreau's Bridge from his childhood, and that we were in the wrong spot and we needed to move a little bit further down, and he kept offering us Bud Light. Now, the next time we go back, it was last October, and this time we were accompanied by Sean and Shayla. And again, when we get there, nothing out of the ordinary really happens. We don't hear any voices, we don't see anything. But when we move our way back up from the deer trail that we had discovered onto the actual bridge itself, we noticed that there was a pentagram spray painted in the middle of the bridge. Now, me and Jason stepped inside of the pentagram and tried to do an EVP session. We didn't capture any voices that night, but what we did notice was that it appeared to be colder inside the pentagram than what it was outside of the pentagram. Now, we tried to verify this and have Sean and Shayla both step inside with us to see if they noticed a temperature difference as well. But someone was being a pussy and refused to step inside the pentagram. So now we will never know, was it because we just thought it was colder, or was it really part of the paranormal?
Well, first of all, fuck that. I'm not stepping in a pentagram. That's a big glass of no thanks. And you can have all that for yourself. Second of all, we need to go back now that it's summertime and do a controlled experiment. So what we're going to do is blindfold probably your brother because it's Jason. And we're going to have him start walking. And I want him to tell me the very moment he feels the temperature get colder. And we're going to have him walk in a straight line. At a certain point, he will enter the pentagram and then leave the pentagram. And that, without him knowing the point he was colder versus warmer, would tell us if it truly is going to be a drop in temperature. I really think that you guys were really wanting it to be colder, so it's going to be a little bit colder.
Why don't they put you in a band and have you do it, Sean?
Because I don't want to step in the pentagram. I fully believe it was cold enough. I think it's pretty chilly that night, and it was cold enough outside the pentagram for me. Thanks. There's a few things I won't do, and that's one of them.
Wait, hold on. So you'll be the small spoon with a shadow person, but you won't step inside a pentagram.
There you go.
There you go.
You heard it here first, folks.
Okay, so we're going to try, and I'm going to play our first
I'm putting my heart on my sleeve, folks.
I'm going to try to play our first EVP here.
Intimate sessions.
All right,
And
well, continue,
Pixelated
Preston.
Paranormal.
This one I should note, we got this
Preston's
one.
not moving. We have lost Preston.
Just on Skype, though. Nope,
okay.
There we go. Maybe it's,
Cool.
I don't know, maybe it's the connection. We're having all sorts of
Maybe
problems
it's all the
tonight.
pentagram talk.
Yeah. So Jason found this little device on like ghosthunters.com or like some weird ghost shop online. And basically it's just like a pickup for a guitar, but it's been modified. And what you do is you plug it into any recording device, and what it does is it picks up on the electromagnetic frequency around you, and it's supposed to somehow translate that into like an EVP. So the idea behind it is if, you know, they use the EMF waves to communicate that, if they're sending their thoughts telepathically, like somehow it should be picked up on this and it gets translated into an EVP.
And what's this thing called?
I'll have to find the name, but I can't remember. I don't even
I've
know.
not heard of this.
I don't know if Jason still has it or not. So we used it like 4 or 5 times, and every single fucking time we plugged this thing in, and you would like play back the recording later, for like the whole entire. So we're out there for hours, and all you would hear is, and that was it. There was nothing else but this just fucking hum.
Oh, I think I know what you guys are talking about. I do remember there was they did a coast to coast show in the sky where it just sounds like a whole bunch of sounds, but you could almost hear like a robotic voice in it occasionally when the guy was asking questions. So I don't know if that's maybe what you're talking.
Yeah. So this is what Dipshit bought, and so the first time we ever got a hit was on Thoros' Bridge, and that's what I'm going to play for you right now. And
if we'll be able to hear it.
Yeah. So hold on 1 second for me. It's should be loading here.
Oh God.
Here we go. Now it's gonna play again here. I don't know how well you guys heard that.
I didn't hear shit. I heard it sounded like fucking Transformers fucking.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll also link to this in the show notes to the actual YouTube video, because I made a YouTube video. You can try to listen to it there. It'll probably maybe hopefully sound a little bit clearer. But when I reviewed that, what I think it says is, "I lost child, please help." And it was just kind of weird because we'd used that several times and never gotten anything, and then we go to Thoros' Bridge, and we just got the and then all of a sudden we got that. And then I'm gonna play one more real quick. Let me get it loaded up here. Hey, quit laughing now. Here we go. Wait. Okay. So you can hear my brother talk, and then you can hear something else here.
Yeah. See, and there's some, look like there's some...
So here it is again. So in between me and my brother talking, there was like this really weird, almost like a childlike voice, what I thought said yes. I don't know. Anyways, I will link to that in the show notes so that you can go to YouTube and watch that and come to your own conclusions. But I don't know. I think that, is Thoros' Bridge really haunted? I'm gonna lean toward no. I think that what has happened there is it's been surrounded by so much, as far as like urban legends go, that maybe that we've created almost like a tulpa-like entity around there, because we have gotten hits. We've gotten some EVPs, and we've gotten some other EVPs that say something along the lines of like, "Why can't you see me? Why can't you feel me?" But there's no real clear history. There's never once been any documented. I've talked to like 3 historians in Valley Center, so there's never been any documented proof that anybody was named Thoros ever existed, that there was a baby who drowned or who died. And actually, the urban legend didn't start until the mid-'80s, until some psychic made a pamphlet and put it in the public library, and people started reading it and like, "Oh my God, this bridge is haunted." So I think that this is kind of a case that, there was a plantation in Mississippi that's supposed to be one of the most haunted plantations in America. And, one of the ghosts on there is supposed to be this, slave named Sarah, and she had hung herself. But when they went to go do the research, they never once found any documented proof that there was a slave named Sarah that had hung herself. Yet there were several paranormal teams that have gone there that have gotten some hits. They're like, "Yes, my name is Sarah." So there's this idea that, if we believe in it enough, that we can actually create it. And so I think that maybe something along the lines of that has happened, because, I've never, babies never come up and swallowed my car, or, anything like that. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, I mean, It seems like that's just probably an urban legend because, like I said, we got the same kind of urban legend here, same, the same basic principle. Although there is the woman did throw her baby into Audubon Park Lake. That much is true. That did actually happen. But, as for the ghost, we always heard that story and no one's ever, you always know the friend of a friend, like every urban legend has claimed that they have done that. But, anyway.
No, we did one time. We walked a trail. We found this hidden trail that led into the back of a tree that like deer hunters had used, and somebody had left a decapitated baby doll there. So that was probably the freakiest thing that we found at the Rosas Bridge. And then, of course, there was Sean, who wouldn't jump inside the pentagram with us.
Damn. I bet if I did, we would have caught the ghost, too.
I know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you talked about the idea of the tulpa and the thought form. It's just kind of like Slender Man and the Philip experiment. There could have never been any ghost named Theorosa, but even furthermore, you could take the psychic who made the pamphlet and who made this story. She or he could have read about the Philip experiment and the idea of making thought forms and thought, okay, if I plant this mental seed here in 5 days, 5 years, 20 years, what could I possibly make? So the idea that we're all thinking and we're all looking for this woman who threw her baby in the creek and so on and so forth, we could have very well created something in that image that does truly haunt that area.
I don't know. Sounds pretty creepy to me.
I mean, all Rob heard was robots having sex on those EVPs.
Yeah,
so.
well, but I actually have heard of that phenomenon now that you had done it, because I remember the scientist that done it was talking. He was a scientist and he was talking to another scientist on the other side, supposedly. And it's real creepy when you turn on Coast to Coast and you're driving your mom to work at 4:00 in the morning, and that's all you hear is the robot sounding stuff. You're like, what in the fuck is going on? With no context. And George Norrie's letting it go on for like 5 minutes. I'm like, what? Have the fucking robot overlords taken off?
And then your mom's like, calm down, Rob. It's just a new Skrillex.
Skrillex wasn't even born yet. Dun, dun, dun. But anyway, I guess that's going to be it for the show.
I've got a pretty good story about
I'm
ghosts.
sorry. Yeah, I forgot you did have one more thing. That's cool. Go
Thank
ahead,
God
Sean.
this is your last fucking episode. Okay, so
and this is where we're going to take a week's vacation and then move on to season 2.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, guys, here's the game plan. Preston and I are going to finish off season 1 with our solo show while Dad's away. The boys will play. And we're going to come back harder, better, faster, stronger.
Warmer.
No Kanye, bitch. Stop it.
Warmer.
That's actually Daft Punk.
Nah, it's Kanye. The fuck
Well,
you talking about?
You're Kanye. Ooh, I went there. Okay, so to kind of round out the rest of the episode then, I've got a story, a ghost story that I find to be pretty interesting, and that's partially a bias because, well, it features yours truly, but also because at the end, it's got a little bit of verification to prove that I'm not quite as crazy as I thought I was when all this kind of stuff had happened. So, out of respect for my friend and his family, I'm not going to say his name. I'll just refer to him as D, just because I don't want any kind of unwanted annoyance and bother coming to him and his parents.
Just give him a name. Don't use letters. I hate when people use letters for names. Just call him.
Oh, the name was going to be D. D-E-E is in D.
Nah, let's just call him Jordan.
I'm going to call him Dave. Let's call him Dave. So,
okay, Dave.
All right.
Let's call him
back
Darren.
in high school, this is either right around 2003, 2004. We graduated in 2003, and it was either right after we graduated or the year after. Dave and I used to work together at a Pizza Hut. Best friend from high school, bosom buddies. English teacher called us frickin' frack. We were just, always there for each other. Oftentimes on a Friday night, he and I would close down the Pizza Hut and then have to turn around and open the next morning. So quite often through my entire high school career, I could be found on the weekends at Dave's house, spending the night in his basement. So to set things up, I'm going to start with a couple quick, shorter stories to kind of set the mood of the basement, his parents' basement. So I want to paint a picture for you of how this basement looked. So imagine a basement, a square basement, right? One big open room. Pick a wall, and I want you to take one corner, and I want you to imagine a staircase going up to the main floor of the house. And on the same wall, but the opposite side, I want you to imagine a hallway. And in that hallway, we're going to have 3 doors. One door on one side of the hallway. Inside that door leads to a room. The room has a deep freeze. It has a weight bench, and it has like a drafting table and a desk because he and his mom are both artists. That's kind of all that's in this room. Across from that door is a second door, which leads to a small closet. The third door is going to be at the end of the hallway, which was Dave's room. His bedroom. So we've got an open floor plan basement, and then we got a staircase, and we got a hallway. So if you imagine the open room, there's going to be in the opposite corner of the hallway, across from it is going to be a TV, I think a fireplace. In an L-shape arrangement, you've got a couch, and perpendicular to the couch, you're going to have, I believe, a support beam that goes up to the ceiling, and then either a love seat and a lazy boy or 2 lazy boy recliners. All right, so we set the mood. So the first thing that ever happened to me in Dave's basement was we were in his bedroom at the end of the hallway, right? And his little sister had been selling whatever grade schoolers sell, egg rolls, burritos, tacos, whatever the fundraiser was. And I had ordered some stuff from his little sister. So one day, we were in his bedroom just hanging out, doing whatever. And his mom hollers down the stairs. And she says, "Hey guys, we've got the stuff that you ordered from the fundraiser if you guys want to come up here and take a look at it." So we take off running down the hallway. And I'm in front of Dave. We get right in front of the doorway to the room that had the deep freeze and the weight bench and the drafting table. And he just hockey checks me into this doorway. I go flying into this room. He shuts the light off and shuts the door. I fall down, slide across the ground, disoriented, have no idea where I'm at. So I stand up and I'm like, "Man, turn the damn light on. Come on." And he's laughing. I can hear him laughing the entire time. He's laughing and giggling and making fun of me. I don't know where the hell I'm at in this room. I'm standing up trying to get my balance, figure out where I'm at. I turn around, and I'm like, "Where's the damn light switch?" And I'm looking at his deep freeze, and I know this because I see the little red light on the deep freeze glowing in the dark. And as I'm sitting there fumbling around trying to find out where I'm at, I turn around and see the light, and something walks in front of the light. And I know something walked in front of the light, and it didn't just simply blink on and off, because whatever it was that passed in front of the light eclipsed the light. So you kind of see it, from one side pass in front of the light, black the light out, and then it slowly reappear as whatever this was walks on the other side. This freaks me the hell out, and I say, "Open the damn door, Dave. Come on, quit messing around. There's something in here." And he's laughing, still giggling. And I say, "Where the hell's the light switch?" And in this dark room, pitch black, I hear, "It's over here." And I say, "Huh?" And meanwhile, he's still laughing. And I hear a more disembodied voice say, "It's over here." I take off running the opposite direction of the light. I run over stuff. I trip. I fall. Devin's laughing even harder now. Grab the door, rip the door open. He takes off down the hallway. And then I tell him, "Dude, this is the craziest shit that just happened to me in that damn room." And he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm not really surprised. I told you this basement, weird shit happens in this basement all the time." And he told me about weird stories about how he'd be in his bedroom and he'd wake up hearing a noise in the hallway and he'd run up and turn his light on and he'd see like a balloon or a toy ball bouncing down the hallway. But as soon as he turns the light on,
We all float down here, Georgie.
They all float. When he turns the light on in the middle of the night, whatever it was bounces one more time and then rolls across the floor. And he said that happened quite often to him. And he and his little sister would oftentimes put up a tent in the basement and pretend like they were camping. And he mentioned one time he was walking down the hallway into the main area of the basement, and he heard his sister playing in the tent. He could hear her moving around, kind of making noise and everything else. And so he said his sister's name. She didn't answer. She just kept carrying on. So he gets closer to the tent, and all of a sudden the tent starts shaking like somebody's inside of it moving around. He can almost see like handprints running down the sides of the tent. And so he runs over thinking he's going to scare his sister. He rips open the door of the tent, and he's like, "Gotcha!" And there's nobody in the tent. And his sister had been upstairs the whole time. So he always told me these stories like this, and I always thought, man, I want to go over there and experience one thing. Just one thing I want to experience.
Then you did. You got freaked out, pussy.
It gets better than that. So then you fast forward to, again, staying the night, or what is an afternoon. I think this time it was an afternoon. We're in Dave's bedroom again, and this time his mom hollers down the stairs, "Hey guys, if you're hungry, I just made some, like potato skins or pizza rolls or whatever. So if you want them, come up and get them because they're going to go fast." So again, we take off down the hallway. And this time I'm thinking, all right, you bastard, you're going to go first. So he takes off walking down the hallway, and I follow him. I can still see him down the hallway. I'm walking past this freaking door to this freaking room, and I hear, "Hey." And I sit there, and instinctively I say, "Huh?" And it says, "Come in here." And instinctively I say, no. And it says, "Come in here." And I said, "No." And I take off running, and I know it wasn't him this time either, because he was walking around the corner of the hallway the second time it said, "Come in here." So I'm like, "Dude, that thing is in that room, and it's hollering at me." He's like, "Yeah, man, like, I'm just kind of used to it by now. Like, I don't really pay much attention."
Did his mom have any dealings with it?
You know, we told her about it, and she kind of just laughed it off and just said that, you guys are crazy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You keep saying this stuff, and I never see it. I think you're just making this stuff up to scare me. So I never really got any credence from her saying yay or nay if she ever experienced anything, and he's never really told me if anything happened either. But the grandiose story here that I think is probably, I don't want to say the best, because that's not the right word to use, but here I think is the greatest thing that ever happened to me in his basement. So, like I said before, we used to oftentimes just crash in his basement on a Friday night because we'd go to work Friday afternoon, I'd stay the night, wake up the next morning, clean up, and then head right back into work because we would close down Friday nights and open up Saturday mornings. So, one night, we're kicking it, we're eating some kind of junk food, it's probably 2 or 3 in the morning, playing video games, we finally decided, hey, we should probably crash, we gotta get up about 9 o'clock. So I remember, oh crap, I don't have my contact solution, and I'm pretty much blind without my glasses or my contacts. So I decide, okay, I've got a bottle of eye drops in my pocket, so what I'll do is put some drops in before I go to sleep, and if I wake up in the middle of the night, put a couple more drops in, and then when I wake up in the morning, a couple more drops, and hope to God they don't stick to my eyeballs, because that's a son of a bitch. So, in the basement, like I said before, you've got 2 chairs, or a chair, and a love seat, and a couch. So typically, we would take turns. One night, I would sleep on the couch, he'd sleep on the floor in a sleeping bag, and vice versa. This particular night, I was sleeping on the couch, he was on the floor, across from me in the sleeping bag. Now, the basement's pretty dark, except for the light of the VCR that cast kind of made the basement glow just a little bit, and I think there might have been like a night light at the base of the stairs. So there's just enough light where you can see discernible objects, and I can make out Dave, I don't know if I said his name or not yet, make out Dave as he's laying there on the floor, sleeping. So, I'm trying to fall asleep, I finally fall asleep, and I wake up probably a couple hours later. I'm on the couch, Dave's on the floor, Dave's dog is on my feet on the couch. Alright, here we go. So, I happen to look over after putting a couple drops in my eyes, and I see Dave asleep on the floor. And I'm just watching him trying to fall asleep, not being creepy. And all of a sudden, I see 2 things. I see Dave laying on the floor, on his stomach, with one arm under his head, sleeping. He's snoring, so I know he's asleep. And at the same exact time, I see Dave number 2 push himself off the floor, his body lifting out of Dave's body. He gets onto his knees, he then pushes up, stands up, and then turns towards me, and then turns around and starts walking away from Dave's body. Meanwhile, he's still snoring, he's still asleep, but yet there's a duplicate, a ghost, a whatever, walking away from him as he's asleep on the floor. I've got the blankets pulled up to my chin because I'm freaking terrified right now. I have no idea what the hell's going on. I hear his footsteps because, again, I'm locked on as far as I can see without turning my head. I hear the footsteps, and he goes out of my peripheral vision. I hear footsteps slowly going across the carpet, and they stop behind me, behind my head, behind the couch. And I'm holding my breath, and I mean, it's movie scared, blankets up to my nose. I hear footsteps walking around the couch to where my feet are, and start walking laps around the couch. But what's weird is this time I can't see the apparition anymore, I just hear footsteps. Walking slowly, and then faster, and probably 3 or 5 laps around the couch. Meanwhile, the dog is asleep on my feet, and Dave is still asleep on the floor, snoring away. After like 3 or 5 laps, the footsteps stop behind my head, and then out of the peripheral vision, I see his body walk back across the basement floor. His feet stop at Dave's feet. He gets down onto his knees, on Dave's knees, and then he slowly lowers himself back down onto Dave's body. And as soon as he's aligned up perfectly, Dave then kind of flips over and starts snoring again. It scared me so bad, I literally stayed there and watched him the rest of the evening, and I didn't move a freaking muscle. Now, that was probably the strangest and greatest thing that happened to me in that basement. So then if you fast forward a couple months, no more than about a year, I'm working one night at Pizza Hut and Dave's off work. And a woman walks in. And I think at this time, like, I think we're both managers now. And so this woman walks in and I make the same usual, chit chat while she's waiting for her pizza to finish up. Hey, how's it going? What's going on? You got 10 pizzas here. You're feeding an army. Ha ha ha. And she's like, oh no, I'm doing some stuff for a movie. I said, oh, okay, cool. What movie are you filming? And she's, okay, so, little backstory. There was a movie filmed in El Dorado called Baby's Breath. It was a ghost story. I think a local director filmed this movie. It was a really big deal. I think a girl from our high school, a year younger than us, actually got to star in the movie. So she's like, yeah, I'm here filming that movie's Baby's Breath. And I said, oh, that's kind of cool. That's the ghost story that you guys are filming here in town. That's really cool. I love ghost stories. I love ghost movies and horror movies. And she's like, yeah, well, tomorrow night, we're trying to find some people to interview locally who have ghost stories. Do you happen to have any ghost stories that you want to share with us or know somebody who does? And I raised my one eyebrow and leaned over on the counter and I was like, as a matter of fact, I've got some pretty good stories myself and I got a buddy who could probably knock your socks off. And she's like, oh my God, would your buddy give me his phone number and let me call him and maybe interview for this DVD extra? So I call up Dave. I'm like, hey man, blah, blah, blah. What do you think, dude? And of course, we're couple 20-something-year-old and we're just think we're hot shit. And he's like, yeah, man, I'll meet her up. I'll tell her some stories. Hell yeah. And I said, okay, cool. It's like, all right, ma'am, here's a couple little quick anecdotes. And I tell her about the room and about the bouncing ball and blah, blah, blah. And she says, okay, so where roughly is this house located in El Dorado? And I tell her, okay, it's over on blah, blah street. She's like, okay, huh. Does it happen to be on a corner? And I was like, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Where do you think it is? Because I'm thinking, okay, it's pretty much my second family. I'm not going to tell this random lady too many facts about this house. And she's like, I think I know the house you're talking about. And I said, okay, it's on the, northwest corner of such and blah, blah intersection. And she goes, White House? Or whatever color it was. I said, yeah. And she tells me the color of the fence. And I say, yeah. And she looks at me for a second. And she goes, you're not going to believe this. But before the current job I have, I used to be a realtor. Is his mom's name blah blah? And I said, yeah, it is. She looks at me and she goes, that house is haunted. And I said, obviously, I'm telling you right now it's haunted. She goes, no, I'm the realtor that sold his parents that house. And the people that owned the house before them told me similar stories about weird things happening in that basement. And so I thought, holy shit, all this time, I'm believing what's going on. I mean, the stuff's happened to me myself. And here comes this random lady walking in the door looking for someone to interview who happens to be a realtor that sold this haunted house. So yeah, the longer and the shorter of it is on this DVD, on the extras, there's an interview with Dave, and he's going over the ghost stories that I just told you guys. It was kind of a bummer because I had to work that next night, some conflicts of scheduling. I ended up having to go into work, so I couldn't be on it either. But that's totally cool. I'm not sore about that. But yeah, the stories I just told you are actually archived on a DVD extra for this movie.
Huh. Well, that's a pretty cool story. That was pretty interesting. But I think it's about time we ended the show. So
sounds good.
Preston, what would you like to plug?
Man, I don't have much other than, I haven't seen too many reviews on iTunes yet. So if you're listening to the show, do us a favor, rate and review us on iTunes to get us out there more. Stay tuned for the episode where we are flying a Han Solo without Big Daddy and, just me and Sean.
Pixelated Paranormal Gone Wild.
Sean, what would you like to plug?
I just want to drop our email again, pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. If you got stories or news articles or anything you want to let us know about, feel free to send us an email. If you got a story you want to tell, let us know up front if we can use your name or not. We can simply leave you anonymous and just recite these stories if you got anything you'd like to let us know about. And I think that's about it for me.
And I want to give a shout out to all the Pixelated Sausage Family podcasts. There's Pixelated Radio with myself, Mark, Rich, and sometimes Corey. And also Mark's own podcast, Pixelated Sausage Cast, where he talks about nonsense, mostly anime, but mostly nonsense. And also Rich has his own podcast, Sports Car Unleashed, a racing podcast, and he's coming back. It sounds like they're coming back to doing that podcast again after a short hiatus. So that's also good news. But like I said, 2 weeks I won't be here, so these two are probably going to do something, or they're not. It's all up to them.
Oh, we're gonna do something.
I think that'd be the perfect time. Maybe
No, don't tell
Sean,
him,
we
don't
could
tell him,
do all the.
It's gonna be a secret.
Oh, okay.
Tell your friends. We'll give you a little teaser video.
You know the.
Let you know what we're gonna talk about. Get you all excited and ready.
We'll
I know what you're talking about. I'm catching what you're throwing.
we'll do the. You know what I'm talking about, Sean.
All right, guys. I think that's going to be it. So everybody have a good evening.
All right, guys.